guys, I already recorded this. Like 10 minutes. I was on it. And then my computer shut down, and so now I'm in a whole different mind space. But it's fine. Thank you for reading with me. I need help, obviously. 20 minutes every day. How's it going? Okay, so I have my reading. You can read whatever you want. But I'm going to read the article that's posted under week 10. It's in the to read folder. It's a recommended reading. How Sweat Lodge Ceremonies Heal War's Wounds from sapiens.org, written by Christopher Webb. And I'll include the link. Why the recommended reading? Why not? Let's be wild with it. Sounds cool, I don't know. And so, I mean, just so I have it printed out, I also have all my beverages. I'm trying to hydrate. I have my multiple notebooks and pens because this is our special time and we have to be prepared. We'll go to we're going to do like 15 to 18 minutes of reading today. And I don't know, just looking at this is an article, right? And it's from Sapiens, and that's one of the websites that you that I recommend you look at for your media portfolios. And so I think I'm going to read this today with like the intention, right? This isn't a chapter from a textbook. I'm going to read it with the intention of thinking about how I could use it for my final media portfolio, right? If I could. So, thinking about that, making connections to material from class, where I might look, if I wanted to use this, that kind of thing. All right. I already wrote down the time before my computer shut down. And then I did it again. I'm ready. Are you ready? Let's read. Oh, hey, pause. So, here's a hint. There's this little, I can't make you see this. Under the title, this thing, right? A lot of us read this and then just skip to the article. This is important. Don't skip this. So what it says here, after trying conventional treatments for PTSD, I underline that, an anthropologist who is also a veteran, underline that, stepped into the first of many Native American ceremonies for vets, I underline that, and emerged with much more than he initially expected. Oh, this sounds cool. This reminds me of Geertz and how Geertz is going to the cockfight. But also, conventional treatments for PTSD. We just read Health and Medicine. They talk about mental health, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder. So conventional treatment. So I think we're probably talking about the Western biomedical model, which we read about as being a specific ideology, right? A specific way of explaining disease. Ethno-ideology. He's also a veteran and an anthropologist. So now we have multiple identities. This is interesting. He's going to a Native American ceremony for vets. Is that maybe the religion part? I mean, race and ethnicity? I don't know. It seems like there are some things. But I mean, maybe there's a religion mental health connection that I could be making, right? And thinking about as I do this reading, and tying into the text. But I know when I heard Native American ceremonies, or when I read Native American ceremony, ceremony and ritual are both really big words that come up again and again in the PowerPoint for the week on religion this week, week 10, and also in the chapter from Perspectives on Religion. Okay. Alright, so this reminds me of Geertz. It's like a first person perspective, it's a story. Um, but it's like more casual than Geertz, I feel like. Also, he says that he was worried. I was worried that I might not be welcome as a white man. You know what I noticed? Geertz didn't talk about his feelings, I don't think. Or like his emotional experience. I don't remember reading about it. Maybe I'm wrong. But, so, I don't know. This is kind of a cool tone. This is a cool vibe. Okay, pause. So I underlined here, right? And this is, I don't know how yours printed out or if this is helpful, but it's the top of page 2 for me. He assured me that any veteran with a PTSD diagnosis was welcome, which was a criteria I met. So that's right, a biomedical model, talking about medicine there. But then our belief, Marty told me, is that if you're here, it's because the Creator brought you here. So then we have like religious, so that juxtaposition, right? Like a clinical diagnosis sort of meeting with a religious ceremony. I don't know. I wonder if there are other examples or what of like diagnoses being a prerequisite for partaking in a religious ceremony. You know, it's just an interesting sort of intersection. And so I see here on the first page, he's talking a lot about, you know, how his PTSD was diagnosed and understood from a biomedical perspective. Ah. Remember those key, the key characteristics of the anthropological perspective that I always talk about, that we talked about during the first week of class? Anthropology is holistic, it's comparative, it engages in culturally relativistic thinking, it's empirical, right? Which means start with the data and use that to build theories and ideas. We don't start with ideas and then pick and choose what data proves them. We take a biocultural perspective, and we look at change over time. It's adaptational, right? Or comparative across time and space. Maybe I'm forgetting one, but it doesn't matter, because holism. We have medicine, religion, right? Multiple identities and experiences all coming like together here. That's what I keep seeing. And so I think that if I were going to write about this for my final media portfolio, I could definitely take a holistic perspective, right? Or explain how holism is applied here and why the anthropological perspective gives us something important and different as a way of understanding someone's experience and perhaps a group's experience. Okay, this is cool. pause. I have a question to think about. I don't have an answer. We're is a white man partaking in this? Is this white man partaking in this sweat lodge ceremony? An example of cultural appropriation, or is it cultural appropriation? Why or why not? I don't know. I don't think it is, but I don't know. I haven't read the whole article. And first, we would have to define what cultural appropriation is. But this is something to think about and write about. We talked about that during the first week too. Pause. All right, I'm on page 3. And I want to point out where he makes his argument, right? So when I talk about looking for both content and structure, here's something we can learn about how this writer writes. So first he's talking about his own personal experience, right? Then he moves into the paragraph that starts, and I'm on page 3. Approximately 11 to 20% of the 2.8 million veterans who have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan in the 21st century have been diagnosed with PTSD, but more than double believe they also may have PTSD. Up to 67% of veterans who undergo first-line psychotherapies for PTSD experience little reduction in their symptoms. So now he's drawing a connection from his own personal research and experience to why we should care, right? This isn't just about him. This is a larger phenomenon. So he's making us care, right? He's showing us why it's important. And now he gets into his argument. While the valid biomedical framing for post-traumatic stress can account for much of this suffering, the diagnosis comes up short when sufferers are confronted with weighty questions about how masculinity, violence, guilt, ethics, belonging, and many other things inflect the experience of trauma. That right there, right, is sort of why we pay attention to the little things, to the specifics. We use these specifics to make this larger argument. And here he's making an argument about how we think about not just our bodies, the treatment of our bodies, our minds, but also politics, war, soldiers, masculinity, violence, ethics, morality, guilt, and belonging, right? Like, I'm down. I'm interested in what this guy has to say now. Are you? We did it. Our 15 minutes is up. You should keep reading. I mean, you should do whatever you want to do. But take a minute, right? Go back. I asked some questions. Write them down. I brought up some ideas and some words. Write them down. And then have a good day. Bye.